Spoken Labour.
I went to sleep that night without knowing it would be the last night I ever spent in that bed at my parents' house in London. Meredith, my mum shook me awake. The room was dark, making it obvious it wasn't morning yet, or not time to get up for school anyway. Mum, I mumbled in my half-asleep state. It's time to go. Everything I told you about those stories is true. It's time for you to leave us so you can train to be a protector. Your dad and I, we've done everything we possibly can to prepare you.
First Charge is the first book in the Destiny Initiative series by Amanda Steele. The book can be purchased in paperback from Amazon. The ebook can also be purchased on Kindle, Kobo, Apple Books, and many others. Spoken Thank you today for tuning in to Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up at the beginning of 2016 and as of recording has over 200 sessions in our archive. Although the podcast can be heard on Anchor, iTunes, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and literally 10 or 11 other networks, the full archive can be found at Spoken Label, and all one word, spokenlabel.bandcamp.com. On Bandcamp, it is set as pay what you want, so you are entitled, if you wish, you can download it or stream it for nothing. But if you want to throw me a couple of pennies my way, it is always eternally grateful to help me maintain the operating costs and future running costs of this podcast. Enjoy. Spoken Label. Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house on Zoom again today, and we're going up to the lovely area in New Mills today for a dear friend of mine, and we were discussing this before, and I think I first met Randy Horton's with me today. I knew him when we first chatted to him about 3.5 years ago now, Spoken Label. But that was the first time I really chatted to him. And I remember it was the poems Randy did in the second half. It caught me out completely. So, but I've got him with me today, and he's a great bloke. And Randy, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody? Tell them, obviously, people may twig that you're not local from New Mills, your accent. But tell them a little bit about yourself, and we'll take it from there, mate.
Yes, I'm Randy Horton, or Randall Horton is my official name. There's a Randall Horton who's a very accomplished poet at New York University.
Oh, was there?
So I changed. So I started using Randy so that people wouldn't confuse me with him, because he's got all these books and awards and everything. And then there's an author named Randy Horton who's published about 12 books too. So I can't win. There's
Oh,
but anyway,
Randy Horton
is what my friends know me from. I'm from Texas. I taught philosophy at a community college there until 2016 when I retired. I moved over here, and we live in New Mills, as you said, up in Derbyshire. And in my semi-retirement, I started writing. I've always written poetry, but I started writing a little bit more poetry in 2017, really.
Yeah, of course. And that's when I first met you then, because I know you came down to, obviously, the Right at Lab Stockport group, which I know I definitely met you from. And then after that, it was a case that I found out you went down to Damien Steele's night over at the Ashton the station as well, didn't you? Spoken Passions. And that's why. Right. So I've always gotten great in anyway. Back in the old days when we used to be able to meet in person, didn't we? So, but
yeah, we would cross paths from time to time, and we still cross paths now, but in totally different format, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, isn't it? Really, because they're doing these Zoom things and stuff, but. We make what we can at the moment for the past year or so now. So, but we're here today to talk about two specific topics for you, really. And one of them is I've not read it, but I know you bought a book out, didn't you, relatively recently? So I want you to tell people about that first.
Yeah, I self-published this little pamphlet. I mean, I consider it sort of like a demo disc or whatever. And there were maybe once or twice I had people when I would go to open mics or something asked me if I had something. I never had anything, so I thought this way I'll have something if somebody wants a little sampler of what I have. So it's not a huge release or anything like that. And the other reason I did it was because my wife and my mother-in-law both said, I would like to have your poems that I can hold in my hand. And I said, oh, all right then. So yeah, it's just 20 poems in a pamphlet that I have. And so if people want something, I have something to give them now.
People bear that in mind, and obviously, like if you like what Randy does today, then so it's worth checking him out. He's a great poet. And what I always love about your work, Randy, is and I make you blush saying this is the fact is I think partly because of your background, you find that living where you are, you write in different ways to what you probably hear in the local area, probably don't you, in some ways.
Yeah, it is different, and I have over the last 4 years, I found some poets over here who write more, I guess, the way I was accustomed to hearing in the past. When I first came, I felt very much like a fish out of water in a way. Now I'm seeing more of the variety here as well. So, but I do think my stuff is definitely different. And it's a different voice, and sometimes I know the voice doesn't come through when people read things here. The other thing that's been interesting to me is hearing British people read, and then I go back and read some of the older British poems I studied, because I was an English major way back in university and studied a lot of British literature, and I'm now realizing that I read the words completely wrong. I mean, some of the expressions I didn't know what they meant, I didn't know how they were pronounced, and I definitely didn't have the rhythm correct. So it's been interesting to kind of reevaluate my understanding of some of the British literature I was familiar with.
Yeah, I can complete with that. And I know you've told them. I'm not going to go into details of who, but you certainly like. I know you're very very well read, and I can well imagine knowing you like you're looking back at it, you're getting different interpretations, isn't it? So when you're living in that area or close to the area, definitely. So now I want to talk to you today. The second part of this is really about because over the past couple of years you've been running your own night as well, haven't you? Write and release. Now this is quite interesting, because you've gone in a different direction with it, and partly because of lockdown. Because when you first did it, it was in. Tell people about it, because it was like a little local group, wasn't it? Really, in the back of I one time went over. It was a library right next to it, wasn't it?
It's been in the library lately. When I first started, it was the autumn of 2017, and we were in Springbank Arts Center.
Ah, right, yeah.
And when I started, I was kind of hoping for kind of a performance style meeting, but the people that came were more interested in sharing their work in a more kind of intimate way. They didn't want to stand up and perform in front of people. And so we became more that kind of group where we sat around in just a very quiet and friendly way. We had a lot of people in there who were academics, former academics or current academics, and very accomplished people who would just sort of have a camaraderie and share their poetry in that way. And so it became less and less of a performance kind of thing over time, and more of I guess, a writer's social group or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is quite similar to what we do at our Stockport group, really. That. So yeah, and I noticed obviously then soon went into lockdown. Obviously things changed, didn't it? Really, because tell people about your change in approach, and obviously since you got into lockdown, because it's where you run that group is quite different to where you used to run it, really, isn't it? I suppose.
Well, it's funny because I didn't intentionally change anything. And so when we first went into lockdown, there were a few people who lived alone who said they really needed the interaction with other people. So I actually started doing more of them. And I think you came a couple of times on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Then my Saturdays went completely mad, so I never got a chance after that.
Yeah, it happened to a lot of people. For a while, everything was there was nothing to do. Then suddenly there was a lot more to do, and that was why I quit doing them, because fewer and fewer people had time to come. But there for a while, we had about 7 or 8 of us who it was like, man, I really need to talk to somebody. So on every Saturday, we would get together and chat and read a little bit, and then I continued doing the monthly night ones. And I think you're partly responsible for the
I'm
change.
always responsible.
Not entirely, because some people said they were just searching online for open mics, and mine started coming up. So we started getting people in America, and we had some people from Australia and and other parts of the world. Now, some of them, I think your night was getting so full. I think you told some people there's some other opportunities, and
I
so
sent them over to you.
you had you took your overflow, as it were. So, and part of that too, because they were coming from you and coming from other places that were very performance based, I started getting some very accomplished performers coming on the monthly one, and I was delighted to have them, of course. And it kind of went back to what my original plan had been in 2017, was to have more performance based stuff. Although I still, I should emphasize that I still welcome and very much like people who consider themselves writers and not performers. I mean, I like both very much. But I'm really glad to have those performers, and I've been amazed at the quality we've gotten at some of those now on the monthly night.
Yeah, you do. You've had some cracking headline acts in there, that's for sure of it. So, and I'm not going to go around dropping names. I'm not that sort of person, and I know you're not. But the best way to put it would be you've had some great guests on, that's for sure of it. So, and how have you found the advertising of it? Have you the way you used to advertise it changed, and has it? And
no, I actually advertise less now. I used to spend a lot more effort trying to attract people, and of course it's easier, I guess, with Zoom. It's easier because you can attract people from all over the world, whereas trying to get people to drive to New Mills was more of a challenge. We had a few locals in New Mills, but other people would have to drive, so that's harder. Now that they can just dial in, anybody searches open mic and they find us and do it. So it's very good. But I didn't. I think I do put less effort into promotion now. It just people are looking for the opportunities, so it's great. And I guess people were happy with the way the night progressed. When they came, were happy enough to want to come back. So we do have people coming back every month. So I'm pleased with it.
I think you do like it's kind of obviously we run Speakeasy, like I said, in contrast to yours, we have exactly the same thing where half of them are regulars, or 2/3 of a month are regulars, and then we get extra people coming in and out sometimes on top of it, and it keeps it fresh. And I think yours is very, very similar to what you're getting, basically, isn't it? So I know you. Yeah. And what's impressed me, Randy, if yours is what's really, you told me off mic before the last one you had, the slots went in about a day and a half, didn't they? Really? So like I said, that was what you have 20 odd readers on every month, basically, don't you? So.
Yeah. I usually try to cut it off at 20, and then I usually have about 3 in backup, and there are usually 1 or 2 who don't show up. So we have 20 to 22 people reading, and usually everybody's really good about watching the time and everything.
Yeah, definitely so, that one. That's the best way. Do you envisage when things eventually calm down, whenever that is, will you go back to doing this in person again, or do you keep the Zoom night going as well?
It depends on whether people will show up, and I've only had 2 or 3 people ask me about the in-person ones, and so, to be honest, before I commit to hiring the room and everything, I think I would want to have at least a good half dozen people tell me they really want me to do that again. I'll see.
I know. I don't know what we're doing. Not Speakeasy on our side yet, because the venue we were in went bust a couple of months into lockdown. So when things eventually calm down again, we've got to make a decision call between the 3 of us what we do next. So it's again, but that's not going to be for quite some time yet. Anyway, the way things are clearly going anyway. So that's for sure of it. So tell us about the booking then. Sorry, I'm curious about your booking on Write and Release. I know you like having a headline act every month. Do you book them all in advance, or do you have just do 1 or 2 in advance normally?
The headline acts.
Yeah.
So I'm booked up through April, and then I have somebody booked in June. So I guess they're booked up a few months in advance. I think May is open.
And we're listening. Get in touch with Randy, May.
I sort of just let it be known if people were interested in a slot, they could contact me, and a few people do. I try to alternate. I try not to have men every month, and so I try to alternate. And if I can get women, and so um, I sometimes have to reach out to get female acts, and I usually have quite a few men volunteering. I don't know why, but that's how it goes.
Who knows? As I would say. So yeah, it's just I think it's the way nature of the beast sometimes. That's for sure of it. But I know you've been doing a few other nights as well, haven't you? So because I saw you over at the lovely Don Dolby's night the other month as well. It's Buxton night. So have you been going to many other Zoom poetry readings then?
I haven't been doing very many. I have a long history with the Buxton group. Actually, before I started going to Stockport, I went to Buxton. Buxton was the first place I ever read one of my poems in front of anyone. And Julian Cohen ran that group, and I went there for years. And then I stopped actually because either my schedule changed or their schedule. I don't remember, but there was a conflict, and so I started going to a different one, and I hadn't been going to Buxton anymore. But now that we can do Zoom, I'm able to join them again. So yeah, I have this long history with the Buxton, so I do them. That's the only one I've been doing. Well, and Damien, he does it differently where we upload the video. I've done those and the Buxton and this one, and that's about all I've been doing. For a while when the lockdown came, I sort of just shut down completely, to be honest. I wasn't writing, wasn't doing anything. So now I've been trying to wake up a little bit and get involved again.
I think it does this. I think certainly in Amanda's cases, we've all already. We're usually at the Stockport one every month, and we do speak easy. And I was like, I think that's all we've really been doing. But I've been keeping my eyes and trying to do the other odd one as well. So, like I said, I usually make sure I put something up on Damien Steele's night, obviously, his night on his wall. And I forgot the name. I was Spoken Passions. knew it then. But like I said, I've been doing sure I do those three. And I've been doing a couple of others as well. But it's like I said, it's just time sometimes, isn't it? So do you find that when we're in lockdown, I suppose there's nothing to do, it's the motivation sometimes, I suppose, isn't it? Just trying to get yourself to go to organise and just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I have trouble being motivated anyway, and in a way, getting out and going to things kind of kept my energy up. And when we stopped doing that, it seemed like all the energy just flowed right out. And I also, I have to admit, I tend to do the sort of doom scrolling and letting my anxiety get carried away. So I'm constantly checking all the bad news in the world and everything all the time, and I get so wrapped up in that I forget to do anything else.
Oh no, I've got to tell you what. On a different note, it was you who was responsible today for let me say and pointing out that young poet that read over at Binden's in announced his first reel. Amanda Gorman was it? Her name was it? I seem to recall. You shared it on your wall, and I was like, yeah, that's where you got involved in the news. And I sat there and I thought, wow, what a great young poet that was.
Yeah, Amanda Gorman is amazing, and I think she's just made a lot of people aware of the fact that maybe they do like poetry. So I think she's a plus for anyone who wants poetry to be recognized. So.
Yeah, and such a young age as well. So thank you, Amanda, for that as well. If anyone knows the details, get to speak to me now. So we'll get one at Randy's night as well. Definitely, as headline that. We'll break the internet. Now, seriously, that's the bit of that's concluding the chat bit, really, Randy. Just to obviously paraphrase, when is Writer Release on then? Just so people know.
Writing Release is always the second Wednesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. British Standard Time.
Of course. Now, if people want to book a slot for it, do you have a set date you take bookings on those, or is it best to get in contact with you and find out when?
I always I use a Google form, and I post it the day after the regularly scheduled event. So the Thursday.
Wow.
The Thursday after, so to be the second Thursday of the month. I always post it in the afternoon, so that if people in the U.S. want to do it, it won't be in the middle of the night for them. So I wait till the afternoon so that it's early morning for people in the U.S. And it's easiest if people follow Write and Release on Facebook, because that's where I post the link.
Yeah, we'll make sure they log that for you. That's fine. Okie dokie. Well, that's it for this half, guys. Thank you for that, Randy. It's been a pleasure as always. So I know you're going to do a few poems just in the second half. So we hang around. Randy's a genius. There's no two ways about it. I'll make him blush again saying that. Right. Stay safe, guys. I'll see you in a minute.
Spoken, mate.
Hi, guys. Straight over to Randy. He's got a few poems for us today. Go for it, mate.
Okay. So this first one is from the pamphlet, which I called Probably Meant to Be Ironic. I did that. I named it that just because sometimes I think people don't know what I'm trying to do. And so if you don't understand what I'm doing, probably I'm trying to be ironic. So it may be a failure, but anyway. So this first one is called Standard Disclaimer. I had written a piece once based on an actual person, and so I thought it needed a disclaimer, and I wrote this disclaimer. Please be advised that all characters appearing in this work are fictional. Any similarity to real people alive or dead, even you, is purely coincidental. The author wishes to assure the reader that he gives you nary a thought since his last work was released to the general public. In fact, the author never thinks of you, except when he smells someone wearing your perfume. He did think he heard you last week when he bumped into someone with the exact same laugh, but that is just the mind playing tricks on itself and has no real significance. The author wishes to assure his audience that he has abandoned the use of muses and relies on his own imagination for all the intrigue, conquest, and psychopathic machinations that appear in his stories, poems, and songs. He would appreciate your trust and confidence on this matter and sincerely apologizes for any embarrassment or inconvenience he may have caused.
Brilliant, that one. I've heard you do that one on Stockport before now, and it's your very subtle sense of humour. I love that one. I do. So it's brilliant. Okay,
So
whenever
ready
you're
for
ready,
the
mate.
next one?
Yeah, go for it, mate. Whenever you're ready, mate.
Okay, this one's called The Risk of Metaphor. And you may notice the allusions to William Carlos Williams if you're a William Carlos Williams fan. Anyway, The Risk of Metaphor. It makes sense that the sun is often described as a disk because it looks like a disk hanging in the sky or tossed like a frisbee on a lazy summer day. But the fact that it isn't a disk, not even a flame white one, is instructive, just as our love is not a rose.
Oh God, yeah, I got that straight away then with Carlos Williams, and straight away, yeah. I've been reading a lot of his later ones recently. I've got a Kindle version of his collected poems too, and I think, yeah, I can see it straight away with that one. I take it, were you a big fan of his back in you lived in America then, were you, as well then, I presume?
Yeah, his poem Danse Russe is one of my favorite poems, probably of all time. And also a fan of his short stories. If you've never read The Use of Force, which is about being a country doctor and having a non-compliant patient who's a little girl, it's a very powerful story. So I'll just throw that in there.
I'm just looking that one up to have a look at later now, because I know he's interesting bloke, he was, definitely, because the fact that he did a lot of his writing, did it in between running a very, very busy doctor's surgery. So
exactly, yeah.
And I found it interesting because he had constant, obviously, material to refer to all the time, didn't he? Because that's probably so many people coming in and out. But yeah, brilliant second piece, that, Randy. Okay.
Right. Thanks.
On to the third one, mate.
Okay. Let me see. What should I do? Oh, so since all of this is about irony, I have one called The Problem with Irony. And it's kind of just parodying myself, I think. So this one's called The Problem with Irony. Nobody really liked Connor's poetry anyway. It didn't really even seem like poetry. It just seemed like someone rambling around trying to tell a story the way Connor did every time we tried to get a cup of coffee with him. Anyway, he said that's what he wanted from his poetry, was for it to sound real natural, like he was just talking to his readers, and he figured he had a few things he wanted to say, and what better way to say a few things than in the context of a poem. But honestly, no one knew what he was going on about, because he just sort of started talking and then went around in circles for a little while with no kind of point that anybody could see. And instead of ending, he just sort of trailed off. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant, mate. We got that. That's that club, mate. Okay. I'm gonna do. What should we go for today? Do you reckon then?
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
Gonna do another two then?
Yeah. Number 2. I thought I might do this one that I wrote after, we talked about Amanda Gorman, and I
Oh, yeah.
listened
I
to
think
that.
I've read this one. Yeah, do it, mate.
Yeah. So this was on watching the inauguration and listening to Amanda Gorman. I wrote this. The band plays on, which is also a reference to the book and movie about the way the United States ignored the AIDS epidemic. So it sort of ties back to the Reagan era. So anyway, the band plays on. Following a crescendo of violence, an allegro jubilee of relief and release brings us all a moment of respite before resuming the rhythm of the rigor and ardor of unflinching struggle. And a young woman tells us we can be the light if we dare, and her innocence gives us new hope and a new cadence for resolute strides to an unknown future of heat, yes, but also illumination. Still, this isn't a cadenza, but a restrictive repair, a scaffolding of democratic skills, a dampening of fear, and a regrouping of willing collaborators marching forward on the promise of hope and camaraderie. And the band plays on because the music of justice has no coda, only refrains.
Superb, absolutely superb, that mate. I can't blame you if you want to write a piece about that, because when I saw the video of it, it was absolutely just sublime. It was, and I think that poor girl must have stood there, absolutely. She's probably terrified, really, thinking, not realizing how far this is going to go around the world.
She had great poise, though. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, the pressure at that, and it was, in a way, her job was easy, I have to say, and I don't mean this to denigrate what she did at all. But all of us had been the last 4 years that had such tension, and there was such an emotional release at that moment. She could have said almost anything, and we would have been on her side. The fact that she did so well and elevated it to the level she did is truly admirable.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you. So, okay, mate, I think we're going to do one more piece today, then, aren't we, to conclude?
Okay. So this is one I did when Stockport had The Other Side of Love as the theme. So I did this one. I liked a couple of the phrases in it, so that was, I don't know if anyone else likes them, but I did. So I just called it The Other Side of Love. It all starts in an oxytocin bath, drowning in aphrodisiac dreams, best friends sweating through amorous bouts of battering lust. You begin purposeful procreation and embrace co-parenting with zest. In a blink, you go from saying, they're so cute and tiny, to they grow up so fast. Bliss you've had and content you've been, but somehow merriment becomes misery. You begin to hoard a stockpile of secrets as comrades become combatants. You've identified the Achilles heel. Indeed, you know every weakness of your enemy. In a flash, though, you realize the best hope is mutually assured destruction. Simultaneously, you begin a charm offensive and a sinking shame spiral. You visualize yourself on an open byre, naked before all, and licked by eager flames.
Brilliant. Great stuff way to finish that one off, Andy. So it's been a pleasure to have you on today, mate, as always. So hang around.
Well, thanks.
I need to quit with you off mic, mate, please. But it's always good to get you on board every now and then, because I love your work. So you deliver it so well as well. Your voice is so rich. So.
Oh, thank you.
A pleasure, mate. Anyway, so that's it, guys and girls. As Don Callis says from Impact Wrestling, stay sane and stay over. And we'll see you all soon.
Spoken, mate.